to my channel, Perceptions by Adedayo. It's nice to have you once again. And in this video, what I'll be doing is I'll be holding up the mirror to help you see yourself differently. In this video, you'll be able to walk through with me some of the things to help you begin to change the perception and your self-image. We have been walking through a series of videos to help us build our self-esteem. And this is the final series in the 3-part video helping us to build our self-esteem for success. Before we continue into this video, I would like to say thank you to all my subscribers because I've actually exceeded the 100 mark I was going to initially set as the first target. And this is just thankful to you. And as an appreciation, I would like to say thank you, but you will have to wait till the end of the video to actually find out what I have in store for you. You'll have to watch to the end. I have something to say thank you. I have something to give back to say thank you. Now, let's get cracking into today's video. As I've said, I want to hold up the mirror to help you see yourself differently. We all know that self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. And that is a product of the image you are portraying. The mental picture is what produces your self-esteem. Now, no one can have a better self-esteem that is better than the quality of their thoughts. It means that we need to change our thought process. We need to literally completely change the way we think about ourselves, because that automatically changes our self-image and it also builds our self-esteem. Transformation in life starts from the inside. There is nothing outside that can transform. You have to start the transformation from the inside. And to start this transformation, we're going to have to walk through those things that help you see yourself differently. Now, the first thing I would like to say here is you have got to change the picture. You've got to change the image you have about yourself. And to do this, you've got to sit down and be mindful. You've got to be intentional about changing the image you hold about yourself. Now, it's more like, think of it like a mental Photoshop. You see, it's changing the picture of yourself from your mind. It takes you to dream. You have got to dream. You've got to see yourself doing the things you did not know you could do before. You've got to, like Photoshop, you have got to superimpose your picture onto the real you, onto the person you want to see. What am I saying? Let me give an example, a very literal example here. I intend to drive a better car. I intend to drive something. But I know I'm not there yet. What do? I take the picture of what I want and I put myself in that car. I put my picture in that car. What people do is that most people that I know, and I myself have done this before, is put a vision board up, put the picture of the car and put my picture next to it to begin to merge. That's why I said it's mental. I begin to merge my picture with that particular thing that I want to become. You have got to do this. You have got to begin to change the picture of yourself. You have got to begin to overlay yourself into that picture that you want to be. You've got to dream of it. You've got to become it. You've got to see yourself evolving, transforming from the inside. You see, your bank account doesn't need to change for you to be able to have your mental image or your mental picture changed. For you to begin to build your self-esteem, your bank account doesn't need to change. Your physical size doesn't need to change. Your appearance doesn't need to change. Nothing on the outside needs to change initially. But the change starts from within and it begins to metamorphosize into what everyone can then see that there is a difference about you. You have got to change that image about yourself. You've got to begin to see yourself moving with the people that you dream to move with. You've got to begin to imagine it. That's the power of imagination. That's the power of imagination. For you to be able to do this, for you to be able to change the mental image that we're talking about, which is the first way to sit at the mirror and look at yourself differently, you've got to imagine it. You've got to dream it. You've got to make it happen in your subconscious. You've got to let it grab you. You've got to let it become the new you. And then you begin to see that happen. Now, for you to progress and for you to say, oh, in life, I'm getting to where I've got to get to, the first question you need to answer is the question of identity. Do you really know yourself? Do I really know myself? Do I know who I am? You see, I hardly say, what are you? I say, who are you? Because the question of identity, the quality of the question of identity is to say, who are you? Or who am I? When you can answer that question of who you are, you can then begin to itemize what you want to become. But you have got to superimpose. You have got to mentally Photoshop yourself into the place where you want to be. Now, if I'm still going to hold this mirror for you, and you're walking through the process now of changing that self-image, of changing the picture, the mental picture of yourself. Now, let's do something onto the next thing, which is you've got to change the label. You see, everyone goes into a shop but buys things by the label. You know what brand you're going for. You know that there is a label that tells you exactly what you're looking for. Many of us are times in shops, like myself, especially when I go buy something for the missus and I don't really know what I'm buying. What I do is I have to check the label. Now, what people see is the label, but the label is actually what you call yourself. So what I'm saying is, if you change the label on yourself, you have got the chance to build your self-image. You've got the chance to build your self-esteem for success. What you call yourself is what other people call you. What you say you are is what people say you are. You see, the first thing is change the image of failure and put on the image of success, and people begin to call you success. You call yourself success on the label, and that exactly is what you are, and that's what people call you. You've got to begin to see yourself as healthy and not sickly, and people see the same in you. So you have got to change the label. Take off the label that makes you feel inferior to yourself and put on the image or the label that makes people know that yes, something has changed about you, but you have got to do that. Everyone just says what you are because of what you've put on yourself. Now, there is a part to this. It seems in life there are two voices. There is the voice that tells you, carry on, you're doing well. And there is the voice that says, you've never been able to do this before. Why do you think you can do it now? So in every man's life, there are two voices. The one that speaks, crack on, and the one that says, have you not looked back? Nobody in your family has done this before? Even, what are you thinking you're doing? You're just going to fail flat. What I want to say is, you've got to shut down the voice that kills your self-esteem. You've got to shut down that voice. You've got to turn up the bass. You've got to turn up the voice that says, yes, I can. Yes, I'm better than this. You've got to be the one that makes that voice die. You've got to feed the right voice, and you've got to starve the wrong voice. We all have that voice in ourselves that says, you can't do it. And we all have the voice that says, crack on, you're doing it. You're on the path. But what voice do you listen to? What voice do you feed? You've got to feed the voice that cheers you along, and you've got to starve the voice that knocks your self-esteem down. Now, many a times, I found out that when you feed the voice that makes you better, it does something to you. It creates a new pathway in you. When you tune up the bass for the voice that cheers you on and says, yes, you're on the path, there is what they call the neural pathways. You create new neural pathways in you that you begin to only hear the voice that cheers you on, and that's the voice you have got to feed. Now, to create new pathways, you have got to carry on yourself, feeding the voice that cheers you on. You've got to read books on that. You've got to educate yourself on that. You've got to work with people that cheers you on. You've got to be around people that helps your self-esteem to grow. That's how you can change that label. It has to be intentional. You've got to be intentional about it. You've got to be mindful about this. Now, this leads me on to a point that I would love. I know many people will say, oh, that's crazy, but it's not. You've got to change the self-talk. You've got to start talking to yourself. And when you talk to yourself, you've got to talk to yourself as you are the victor, you've got to change the self-talk. Do you talk to yourself? I talk to myself. When I'm driving alone to the shop, to the office, I just talk to myself. Yes, you can do it today. I practice how I want to be. I speak like I want to be heard. You have got to change the self-talk. It's not craziness, but you've got to do it in measure, You've got to do it appropriately. You've got to make sure that you're ready for life. You've got to change the self-talk. How do you talk about yourself? What do you say about yourself? You've got to do it. You have to do it. So 3 things there. Change the picture. Change the image. Change the label. Put the right label on yourself. And come on, change your self-talk. Talk about yourself the way you want to be heard. Talk about yourself the way you want people to talk about you. Remember, feed the voice that cheers you on and stop the voice that knocks you down. Create the new pathway for the voice that cheers you on. That's the way you've got to do it. That's the way you've got to start. That's me holding the mirror for you to see. Just 3 clear points on how you can help yourself. Now, I want you to do something for me and do it for yourself first. But do it for me because I'm asking. But do it for yourself because you know it's the right thing to do for yourself. Can you list out 5 things you appreciate about yourself? 5 things that you know that distinguish you from any other person. 5 things you're grateful for that you've got. The 5 things that will be used to build your self-esteem. Can you list them out? You've got to be intentional about this. You've got to think about it. If you have to sit down, lock yourself in a room, you've got to do it. Just list 5 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 things you appreciate yourself about. 5 things that will help you build your self-esteem. And that leads me on into what I'm going to be offering today. I would like to host a free webinar for all my subscribers and anyone that wants to join on tips, practical tips. We'll walk through them together. It's going to be a live session on how to build your self-esteem. We're going to walk through different series of scenarios and case studies and different questions. But I'll be coming to you shortly. I'll be giving you a link and time on Zoom, hopefully, on how we can meet together and how we can walk through building your self-esteem. I know that I've done this for myself. And I know you can do it. It's now time for me to give something back, to say, oh, how did I do it? You don't have to, you don't have to feel like a victim. You've got to come out there. You've got to build your self-esteem. So it's time for us to do it together. And I'll be seeing you shortly in my next video. And please, if you've enjoyed this video, your comments have been supportive, just click the subscribe button and notification bell and just support. Let's support ourselves. It's nice to have you once again, and I'll see you shortly at the free webinar. Thank you very much. Cheers and bye.